Mate and I have just pulled the body off. First time off in 47 years, and we find a lot of dirt and a little bit of rust, but nothing we can't handle. Well, the weather's packed in, so I've had to quit painting the roof, and I've given the chassis a preliminary water blast. A mate and I pulled the body off this morning. It was dead easy, but underneath we found lots of crud sitting on top of the chassis rails and down in here. I'm a little bit worried that the tank may have rusted right in here where it's very close to the chassis, so I'm going to drop the tank and have a look. But the great thing is there's nothing horrendous to be found. There's a wee little bit of work that needs doing on the back cross member. A little bit of heavage on this seam here, tiny. The back cross member has been replaced, and look at the state of this person's welding. Anywho, not to worry. Have a look at these two bottom bolts on where the tow bar was attached. They've been sucked into the rusting metal, and the bottom lip was also a bit rusty. I'll have to attend to that. Here's the heavage on the outriggers. Now I've given it a water blast. I'm going to get in there with a sandblaster now and blow out as much as I can. This is a repair that somebody's done that looks okay, but they haven't used the right gauge of metal. So I've now given it a light sandblast. I've blown into this seam and opened it up with a chisel to get all of the packed rust out of there. But there's still packed rust where the welds are. So I'm going to have to release those welds, take this piece out, and attend to the rust that's on the inside. Looking at the inside of this outrigger, you'll see how pitted it is, and you can see that rust that was in the seam that I wouldn't have been able to get to if I'd left that piece in there. I'm going to cut off the outside 4 inches of this and remake it because it's just too far gone. And then we'll give it a sandblast inside, and then that piece that I've cut out can be welded back in again. This piece that's going to get cut off, it helps no end if you do good square cuts, because it makes it so much easier to make the replacement part fit accurately. You can see how thin it was after the sandblasting. I've blown through in about 3 or 4 places from the inside, so that's why this piece is getting cut off. Please, when you're using air wheel grinders, wear gloves, wear hearing protection, wear eye protection, or preferably a full face shield. These things are really dangerous. In the last video, I think I mentioned my mate Dave, who owned a sheet metal factory. He makes gun safes out of this 2.5mm galvanised sheet, which coincidentally is what Land Rover chassis are made out of. So he has offcuts, I get them for nothing. So I'll just extrapolate this rusty end piece out onto a piece of fresh galv, and then we'll whip it into the workshop, cut it out, and start folding it. Yes, it's my trusty homemade folding device again. The amount of room that a set of good quality folders would take up on my bench floor compared to the amount of times that I would use them each month just doesn't warrant it. So for the last 25 or 30 years I've used this good old faithful piece of angle iron to fabricate many things that I've made, and it works, so I keep using it. Now I'm not going to be able to finish this fold in these bars because it's too narrow at the outer end where those two bolt holes are. So I'm going to have to finish it over a random piece of metal that's come out of the scrap bin. I've always got bits lying around that get used for formers and bashing blocks. So with a little bit of jiggery pokery, I'll set that up on the vise, hammer that down, and I'll be getting it fairly close to how I want the thing to look. I'll just compare it with the original one. Yep. The other end. Yeah, I'm in the ballpark. Just need to close it up a little more. Look at that, just perfect. There's always something that you can use, whether it's a fence post outside, or the tow bar on your car, or a piece of balustrade or something. You'll find something with just the right curve or just the right angle to fix most things. Right. Meanwhile, outside the Batcave, I've been looking at this next piece. This is somebody else's repair, and it looks like it's been repaired using a piece of old washing machine body. It's just normal panel steel. It's only about 20 gauge or 18 gauge. Nicely made, but not providing any strength. So I've cut that out, and I'm going to use it as a pattern to whip back into the workshop and make something out of this nice 2.5mm, and then we'll weld that in, and we should have a good structurally sound chassis that I can then finish work on. On this side there's a little piece about the size of a matchbox that needs to come out, so I'll just cut that out carefully. Yeah, I know I'm not wearing gloves, but we'll just cut this little piece out, then that can come into the workshop with me and I'll make up both pieces. So there it is, all drawn up. I just need to get the folds in the right direction now. These are long folds, and in a hand folder with a hammer with 2.5mm galv, this is really going to take some forming. These folds are very close to each other, but steel is quite forgiving. The bigger the hammer, the easier it is. If you start off with too small a hammer, all you'll do is bruise and buckle it. When you're trying to get serious bends into serious metal, use a serious hammer. First, I'm going to put the narrow edge stiffening fold in, because if I don't do it now, I won't be able to hold it in the vise when I've got the other folds done in order to finish it. And now I'm going to put in the second fold. It's pretty hard actually, very stiff, thick sheet steel. And now I'm going to do the return fold the other way, which is getting very hard. So I'm in here getting it started with a broad flat chisel. It's called a bolster chisel, normally used by people for splitting bricks, but it's great. 4 inches wide, has a nice broad surface for bending things, an essential piece of panel beating tool kit. I know I've got it. Big chunk of tow bar steel, that's what I'm looking for. It's 1/2 inch thick and 4 inches wide. Where is it? Ha! Got it. This'll sort it. You stand over here, will you be safe? Well, several days later, after the foul weather had passed, I ventured outside and managed to finish what I was doing. I got those patches welded in, didn't get any footage of it, I'm very sorry of that, and I got the chassis coated with Gilsonite, which is the compound that Henry Ford used on the original Model T. It's a bituminous coating rather than a paint, and it provides years of long-term protection because it stays soft. I've just put the wheels on, which is a grand occasion, and you're watching me take the chocks out and get the thing back down onto all four wheels for the first time since lockdown. I'm going to then jiggle it around and park it in another part of the yard so that I can get on with painting the body tub as and when weather permits. You'll see that in the next video. The colour is called Topaz. I'm painting this vehicle topaz with a limestone roof and wheels. Like everything I do, it's built, not bought. I don't like to go out and buy other people's work. I love to do stuff myself. Farmers, eh? See the piece of 3/8 rod welded to the chassis and sticking down the side welded to the muffler? Well, that was the bodgy repair that they did when the original strap that had been welded to the middle of the muffler body fell off. Here in New Zealand, I couldn't find a Series 3 bumper anywhere, not even a bad one. So I thought, bugger it, I'll make one. And it's turned out, well, as good as a series bumper does. I left the welds purposely half doggy so it looks genuine. Found that both my two series have got different bumper iron measurements, so one of them's had a bit of a tweak by the look of it. But that's come out pretty much like a series Land Rover bumper.